Welcome back. Thank you once again for hanging out with us. This is the one and only IT in the D Show. It's episode 501, and we are recording live. This is the first time in the new studios here at the Detroit Podcasting Company, in the Detroit Shipping Company. I am Bob Waltenspiel, hanging out with co-host extraordinaire Randy Walker. Guest this week, she was on episode 15, if you can believe that, Melinda Ann O'Neill. Different name last time. She's going to be talking all things women in tech. She has one kidney. I think we might talk about that. Mentor. She's an absolute powerhouse in the IT community here in Detroit, and love her story and can't wait to dive in. You can find us online at itinthed.com. Do us a favor, give us a like on the socials, subscribe to us everywhere. Fine podcasts are sold.
Our meetup is here January. It's January 16th, 2025. I know. January 16th, 2025, right here at Detroit Shipping Company. So head on out and find us upstairs.
You can find us at meetup.com/itinthed. We're going to be at Detroit Shipping Company, I think, until they kick us out, yeah?
Probably. Sounds like a good place.
Yeah. So we'll be here, once the weather breaks, we'll be out in the patio, but until then, we'll be upstairs in the Nino Brown room. So, Melinda Ann, how are you?
I'm fantastic. This is the cutest, by the way. It's like a secret bat cave.
It is a secret. Well, it's a ship. We're in a shipping container, like an actual shipping container.
Do the owners know you're here? Or do you just like sneak up here and put equipment?
We have the keys and everything. It's crazy. For those that didn't know, we used to be here a long time ago, and then COVID kind of happened, and we just got asked by John, the guy that owns Detroit Shipping Company, we want to come back. So Randy and I have been working tirelessly, getting the studio kind of looking semi-reasonable. So we'll post some pictures online, but the place is looking fantastic. Definitely, DetroitPodcastingCompany.com, cheap plug.
This recording equipment actually works.
Oh, and then if not, we'll record again. That's fine. Melinda knows. So, Melinda, I kind of love your story in like 1,000 different ways. I think episode 15, I don't even know if you were in IT yet.
I wasn't.
You weren't. What the hell were you doing on our show?
Well, which is so funny because I think I connected. Scott Sabelico was on the show as well.
Yeah.
And then I think somebody who was a recruiter, right?
There was,
An IT recruiter.
Davina.
So I think at the time I was looking for a transition from higher ed sales, and I was, somebody said, you should probably go into IT. And it was a recruiter. And when I came on your show, I explicitly remember you saying, no, you wouldn't be good as a recruiter. And then like my dreams were crushed.
It wasn't, I think, because I'm thinking back, because I wouldn't say that to people because I always thought recruiting, I always push people into that. But I thought like getting into like the actual IT sales. I thought you'd be a lot because like recruiting is arduous. It's a lot of phone calls. It's a lot of like, you have to like, it's a lot. Like the people that do it, I give them all the credit in the world for like just being like that, because you're talking to people that maybe they haven't worked in a week, maybe they haven't worked in a year, and like you're like their beacon of light, and it's a very difficult position to be in.
Sales is so easy.
Compared to that, yes.
And then come February 2014, so that was October, I think, of 2013,
yeah.
A recruiter reached out on LinkedIn and said, I think I have a role for you in IT. And this is funny because I said, I don't really know anything about IT. I don't think I'd be good at that. And he said, just talk to me. If you don't like what I have to say, and this is a recruiter, right?
Yeah.
Give me 30 minutes of your time. If you don't like what I have to say.
It's a good recruiter.
Yeah, he was great. I will tell you, I'm still connected to him today. His name is Bill Smitley. He's no longer a recruiter. Phenomenal person. Anyways, he said, if you don't like what I have to say, you don't ever have to talk to me again. Easy peasy. So first call was great. Second call, he introduced me to who ended up being my boss, the hiring manager. Fantastic, phenomenal person. I started over on the west side of the state with a company that specialized in data center maintenance. So it was, third-party hardware, server systems, storage hardware,
and your name
networking.
didn't start with Vander.
And
how the hell did you get?
I know.
How the hell did you get by in the west side of the state?
I did really well.
That's crazy.
Yes. Yeah, we had maintenance contracts, and our average at the time was $1,100 a month for let's say 36 months.
Sure.
I closed one in my first 9 months. That was $22,000 a month, and I was sitting very beautifully. And IT at that point, I really understood that that's where I should have been my whole life.
So how did you I got to talk about the transition, especially into sales, because this is my sweet spot. It's all I've ever done. But there's aha moments throughout my entire career. Like I didn't really figure. It takes every so often you figure something out, or something's like And a lot of people are like, can I have a moment of your time to talk about like what keeps you up at night? And there's so many bad salespeople. They reach out to me all the time. They don't know that they see I put founder of IT in the D, so they think I'm a founder of some big startup or whatever. I'm like, no, we don't make any money. We're not a company. We're just a group. But like, how did you did you have any aha moments, or were you just like, was it natural fit? A lot of trial and error. Like, what was? Did you have a good mentor?
So many aha moments. And I will tell you, my mentor was a gentleman that I worked with he passed away, unfortunately, battled depression. This was just a couple of years ago. He was phenomenal in that he told me, like, listen, put your head down and just learn everything you can learn and follow their process. But once it clicks and you understand it, make it your own. Whatever you're learning is not the way you're going to do it natively. So learn what you can learn and then make it your own. And I will say that has led me to multiple President's Clubs or, High Achievers Club trips, and has made me just so appreciative of my life in IT. So I had a boss who was very procedural. Great, not a micromanager, but he was that guy that was like, listen, make 100 calls a day. And after the first week or so, I was like, my goodness, nobody answers the phone. First of all, is this 1982? What are we calling for? Insane. And I said, can I use LinkedIn? At the time, I was covering the Tigers and Pistons, right? Sure. I was a sports reporter, had a small following on the radio, and said, I have a network, and I use that a lot. LinkedIn is I'm growing my LinkedIn. I had maybe a couple thousand connections, and I said, can I use LinkedIn? He said, use it on your own time. If you can prove that it works, then you can use it here. So I tracked like a nerd with an Excel file who I reached out to, what their title was, how long it took them to connect, if that connection turned into a first meeting, if that first meeting turned into a deal, and if that deal turned into a win or a close. I went over these analytics. Probably why I'm married today to somebody who's basically like a data scientist. He taught quantitative and qualitative stats, and I met him through work, but I digress. So I used that. And I came to him and said, and that's how I found that one deal that was $22,000 a month.
Right.
That was I found that VPs responded more than anybody else. They connected more quickly. I found that Thursday and Friday evening was when most of the connection requests came back in. And I never sold on LinkedIn. I would say, hey, Bob Waltenspiel, I just send you a connection request. You just see that it comes through. No message. Once you replied yes, I knew you were at your phone or at your desk. I would say, hey, Bob, thanks for connecting. Let me know if you can pencil me in for an intro soon. That's it. Sometimes I would get what do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
Most of the
time. That doesn't work today.
I know, right?
Like that. Well, these are the early days.
Most of this is 2014.
Right.
Most of the time I would get, yeah, sure. What works for you?
Okay.
It was easy peasy for me. And those meetings turned into
You didn't do
awesome.
We've helped companies such as yours with their data center journey.
So bad. No, I would do a quick 30-minute, I just want to and I would try to go in person.
Yeah.
Today I like virtual. I'm old. I don't want to drive around to 100 places.
I'm still face to face.
Are you?
Totally. I will drive if the meeting's in Indianapolis and I'm allowed to be face to face. I will drive. I will get up at 4 in the morning to get there at 9. Yeah, just for some reason, again, you said the make it yours thing. Mm-hmm. I've done during the COVID, the virtual thing, I don't feel myself on the call. You don't, the nuance, the personality, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I've never been, but I was always a relationship. And how are you supposed to do that when I was virtual, right? I was never a technical seller. I was always I knew who the smart guy was who can help you. That's that person. So I always made sure I knew what everyone is good at. But but again, though, you proved it out that, made
it worked
your own.
For me.
Yeah.
And they let me use that. They let me work with the SDR team, the sales development reps to construct a new process where they could, use LinkedIn as an outreach and the navigator and so on. So it ended up being a pretty valuable process for me.
Sure.
Yeah. I still use it today.
So one of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my life was there was a very attractive woman that came to one of our events, and I happened to mention who are you recruiting for? Who are you looking for? And she's like, dude, I'm the VP of IT at some big. I'm I learned really quick never to ever say that again. Cause
brilliant.
Right. Foot and mouth, welcome to my world. But how did you get being a woman in tech, to, not saying to take you seriously, cause I know your stuff and I know you got immersed into it, but was that a struggle?
I love this question because it takes me back again to serve. And I'll say Service Express because I was there so long and I had so many great memories.
Sure.
But I had a few colleagues that were gentlemen, and I was consistently doing well, consistently over my quota. And one of our sales reps in Ohio mentioned, well, you're a female, so it's a little different when you're reaching out on LinkedIn. They just see your picture. And then, fast forward, he'd been with us for about.
So let me like real quick. I know the guys in higher level seats that were like, I just took a meeting because she was hot.
Sure. Yeah.
And they told me.
It totally
and
happens.
they giggle.
It totally happens.
Right.
I'm not saying it doesn't. So he said, can I fast forward, been there 11 months. I need to figure out what I'm doing wrong. Can I do a ride along with you? Absolutely. So I would schedule at least 5 meetings a day, every hour on the hour. My plan is I show up at your office. I'm there for half an hour or so.
Yeah.
And then I leave. I'm on to the next meeting. So he did this ride along with me, and I'm go. I am very much, I won't say a victim. I have attention deficit disorder, and it's self-diagnosed, I'm sure.
Welcome to everyone in IT.
Yeah, exactly. So I excel on just go. At the end of the day, he said, I'm really sorry. I totally judged you because you get in there, you say your stuff, and you get out. And you're not flirty, and and somehow these turn into deals, and I'm almost embarrassed because I was like, well, she has it a little easier.
So is this before like the whole like you learned like the disc profile?
Yeah.
And like how like, oh, he's a driver, she's a driver, get in and out, or like this person wants to talk about fishing, so you need to sit. Like, how did you like? Were you the driver and drive? Like, a lot of times salespeople are like they morph into whatever. Like, they read the room and
you're a chameleon, right?
Sure.
Okay, so it's funny you said that. I'm going to just go off the word driver because I have a funny sales story that is about me being a female. I showed up to a company whose giant building was basically in the parking lot of a mall here near us. And I went inside. I said, I have a meeting with, we'll say Bob, at 11. Perfect. Bob comes, secretary goes and gets Bob. He comes out. He's a larger man. He's kind of covered in sweat, and he looks like
it me?
It was you. It was 100% you.
It was totally me.
He comes out. He said, listen, I don't want to cancel this meeting. Can we kill 2 birds with 1 stone and meet over lunch? Otherwise, I have to cancel it. I said, sure. He said, I fly you by. Absolutely. So I'm in my heels.
My dad's line, I love it.
I'm in my dress. I always have dresses on. My dress was probably right to the knee, maybe right below the knee. We're walking outside. He grabs his keys. We're walking through the parking lot. We pass all the cars, and here's this Harley. And he gets on the Harley. He grabs my bag, puts it in his side saddle, gets on, and then he hits the side of his thigh as if to say, get on. So at this point, I've been at this company for 3 months.
Right.
And immediately I'm like, I'm fired. I'm 100% fired. I don't know what to do. So I'm tucking my dress in. I get on. I'm holding his love handle. It was the most awkward moment ever because he wouldn't have asked you to get on the back of his bike.
No.
So we drive to we're in the mall parking lot. We drive 20 minutes to a Thai restaurant, and we go in. And for anybody who hasn't seen my LinkedIn, I'm half Asian, right? I'm Vietnamese. We walk into this Thai restaurant. He's clearly a regular, and he said, "Hey, I brought my mail order bride today."
Stop.
So thankfully, I'm not. I don't take offense to a lot. So I'm just sitting there like, this is the most interesting meeting.
Do you?
I do not.
You should have just started barking Vietnamese. Yeah, just like go on along with it.
It was interesting because there's no way he would have done this if I was a man. I never won that deal. I actually didn't reach back out after that. But
I wouldn't either.
It was insane.
But like, what are you supposed to, like, again, it's obscenely inappropriate. Like, and I'm like looking at myself going, yeah, I've been like had drinking things like for many, many, many years doing this meetups and everything. Like, who does that? Like, for real.
Insane.
I've never heard that. Like, I've never heard this. Like, I'm completely like, who would even think that's a normal thing to do? And what did he do? Tell the guys back at the data center, like, oh, dude, this chick came and I freaking
put her on my Harley. Oh, the best is there's no helmet. So I have meeting after meeting. I get off this bike. I look like I just got out of a White Snake video. My hair's all over the place. God. It was insane, Bob.
I mean, Tawny Katane was pretty good. I'm just saying, like, it's shocking. I still remember that girl's name from that one video for that one.
I know. Cherry Pie or something, right?
No.
No. Oh, look, he's so disgusted.
No,
in me.
she was on the car hood.
It was literally in White Snake.
Oh. Warrant was Cherry Pie.
He's like, oh.
But that's interesting. So like, I know you're mentoring now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of like part of it? Like how to navigate like because I think these days, I see the difference is now, like I'm in management consulting now. And it's 50-50 split men and women. It's very common that like Accentures and all the Deloittes that it's 50-50. But not too long ago when I was at Cisco, sales kickoff was 20,000 people and it was 18,000 40-year-old men, 1,000 women, and 1,000 people of color. Like I'm joking, obviously, but like when you look at the crowd, it's like Jesus Christ. There's all I see is navy blue sport coats and tan pants. And brown shoes
polos
and white. Yeah. Like, and then the guys with the red shoes were like, oh, they must be from the Brazilian office. Right. And then like, and you're like, wait a minute. Like I haven't ran past, like, this is not a diverse, like IT is not a diverse. So here you are walking in, you got the women card check. You got the Asian card check. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
DEI check.
But again, though, not to say it was, that it was difficult to deal with, but like you got put into a different category than the rest of us did when we went and saw people. Yeah,
absolutely. And mentoring is probably a part of that. I really started mentoring at Vista Maria back in 2012. And if you're not familiar with Vista Maria, it's a campus in Dearborn Heights and specializing in victims of, let's say, human trafficking and just, horror stories. So girls live on campus and they're cared for, nurtured back to health. So I started mentoring there because I did a story on one of their, it was called Dream at the time. It's Journey to Success after school program. Fast forward, I realized at that point I really liked mentoring. So I have 4 kids. Well, I have 7 kids now. At the time I had 4 kids. You mentioned I was Melinda and Prince. My first time on your show, I was single. I'm now Melinda and O'Neill, and I have 7 kids instead of 4. 3 I inherited, 4 were roommates. And I really I feel like I didn't do a great job of mentoring my own kids, right? They're just like little friends. They're just like roommates that don't pay rent, right? They're just there. But when I was able to help these girls at Vista Maria, it was just very heartwarming. So that turned into me joining the Michigan Council of Women in Technology, some other, fast forward today, just some other groups, WAMSA, the Women's Security Alliance, things like that, T200 now. And I've become a mentor where, I have one-on-ones weekly with, and some of them are younger, some of them are older.
But see, that's in-depth mentoring. Females. That's different.
Yeah. But it's like some of them have just finished school and they're getting into their first job, or some of them are switching over from a different career into a cybersecurity career path, or, IT in general. And I find that a lot of times some of them just have anxiety, and it really isn't about IT at all. It's about, how do I just go through my day and feel normal and feel like I'm bringing value?
Guess what? We all do.
I know.
Like, I think when we taught the 10 Commandments of networking, I said, I know, right? We used to do a lot of speaking engagements.
I love this.
And it was, thou shalt not have anxiety. I think it was 4. And I said, everyone in this room has anxiety. Some manifest it in different ways. And I said, you might be terrified to walk into a room with 100 people because you need to talk to one person. I go, I need to talk to everyone right now. And how do I get that done? Like immediately. So like, we're both in the same shoes. I go, if you think you're alone on this island, like we all have so much, like getting through a day, planning out the week, quarter end, especially in sales or in our world, year end, there's so there's so a black cloud. Yeah, because I always said your 2 quarters, that was a joke at Cisco was, how long you been here? And I were like 17 quarters. Like it was, nobody said how many years they were there because like a quarter felt like a year. But the mentoring thing I love is it, are you just like being a sounding board, or are you like just trying to like assess, like, I guess, like walk me through, because like I've mentored in the past, but it's always people that I've saw could get into sales or recruiting. Like you're a bartender. Like, do you ever think of like putting on a polo shirt and being a day, having a day job? They're like, absolutely or no. Like there's probably 6 people I've asked, 4 of them have been wildly successful since that I, got them in like their first gig. And, but like, walk me through kind of the mentoring process.
Yeah,
Is it just,
I would say less of like an assessment and more of and I'll give you a case in point. One of the people I worked with recently, she was assigned to me, and I'm like, let's set up a cadence, and was listening to the mentorship beforehand, before we were assigned mentees, and it was like, well, I talk to mine once a month, and it's like, how does anything resonate if it's once a month?
Yeah.
So I set up a cadence with her, which was multiple times a week. or twice a week. And I said,
Really, that's a lot.
It is. And I'm like, if you're busy, if you get busy, just move it off. We'll just keep it on the calendar. And if you can make it, you can make it. And if you get busy or I get busy, let's move it off because we're both professionals. She actually works in a cybersecurity role. She's out of Chicago. And it turned into very quickly, she has so much anxiety over just everything, family stuff, life stuff, leaving her house, little things like this. And I said, well, let's do this. Let's not really talk about IT because she has a path, right? She's taking classes. She's got certifications that she's completing. Let's talk about, what will get you through today? How can I help you just get you through today? And that turned into, she really, if I had a wish list, I would love to do some public speaking. Let's sign up and do some public speaking. What happens if you fail? So what? Yeah. Nobody knows what you're supposed to talk about on the stage.
Sure.
So she actually put her hat in the ring recently, and I've been mentoring her for less than 6 months to host a panel and create like a keynote speaker with 3 panelists and host it herself. So she would be the narrator.
How cool is that?
So phenomenal that she even put an application in to do this. Now, she didn't get chosen, but there were hundreds of applicants.
So I'd recommend like Go Comedy Improv.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
My oldest daughter's a theater nerd.
Shush.
And I got her started in improv camp. And so everyone else is going to basketball camp or like canoe camp. She was going to like stand-up comedy improv camp when she was like 12, 13. But she found her people. That's where she found her people. It was pretty awesome. So I highly recommend anyone that just wants to not, what is it, Toastmasters? What is that? What it's called?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Like go to Go Comedy. I have another friend he was a pro wrestler that got into corporate world, and he does improv, and because he was awesome on the mic, and I'm like, dude, you got to manifest that. You can't just let that go away. You were so good on the microphone, and he does, and it's fantastic. So anyway, just a tip, yeah.
And I would never have thought of that going the improv route. But how fantastic is that?
And again, if you mess up, who's watching? Nobody.
Or who cares, right? So what? You failed.
Dumb joke.
Move on.
Get in line.
You sound like somebody's dad. Whatever.
As long as it's not posted on YouTube with your name isolated when you tell a story, that's for another day. Yeah, that happened to me. The one time I did stand up. I told a really embarrassing story, and they isolated my name. I was last. It was like 2.5 hour show, and they like clipped mine out and put it on, and I'm like. So when people were looking me up on YouTube, I didn't look, they're like, do you know that you're, I'm like, oh my.
Famous. I'm going to go with famous.
It's there now. So yeah, if you look me up, it's my TED Talk is 1. My Go Comedy Improv embarrassing story is 2.
I absolutely love this. You mentioned earlier months.
Yeah.
Like 17. How long have you been here?
Quarters, yeah.
17 quarters. I recently celebrated a birthday, December 31st, and my husband gave me a card. So when we started dating, it was day 1, happy day 1. Day 2, every day I get a message. Literally, it's whether it's scrawled on the wall or it's an actual card or a Post-it note or a text message. For my birthday, he gave me a card. It said, happy day 18,263. Yes. And I was like, if I didn't feel old before today, I definitely do now that there are
it's cute in the beginning. Now it's a prison sentence. It's like this etching on the cement wall. So like, get me out of here. There was a sign. I'm a wrestling fan. I talk about it way too much. I'm a grown man. But there's somebody like who had a sign. It's in L.A. and it's like 2,368 days since OSU beat Michigan, and it's on like Monday Night Raw. I'm like, that's fantastic. Someone actually counted and wrote that.
I love it. It's better than Countdown to Christmas.
Yeah. So how do you, do you vet who you mentor? Because that's a big deal, I think. Because like otherwise you're going to get a line of, like how do you vet? Like it's kind of like I like you, I don't like you, you or you. Like, it's
you can't sit with us. No, I don't. And because who I mentor through with just like the Women's Security Alliance, they will assign you someone. So if you're signed up to be a mentor and you've been vetted, then they'll just ask you after, one session is over, one person is kind of complete. Do you want to take on another mentee? So nope, I don't vet them. I don't know much about them until I get them.
So I want you to give a little pep talk right now. Okay. I got a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old, and I all of their friends and everything, and I was kind of like egging them on to get into IT. Yes. And my daughter, who's the loud one, I said, you should get into IT sales. You look like my wife and you talk like me and your big mouth and you'd be fantastic in sales. And she goes, all you do is pick up the phone and say, want to buy some shit. I'm like, no, I don't work at CDW. I had to do that. Melinda worked at CDW. That's why I had to do it cheap. But I said, no, it's a lot more. It's problem solving. It's relationship building. It's a lot to it. And she's like, yeah, whatever. And she went into veterinary school. My other daughter, I talked to her about like getting into like the new thing in data science and AI and getting into machine learning and like cybersecurity. And she's like, nah, she still doesn't know what she wants to do. She goes, maybe I want to sell like work for Stryker, sell machine or surgical devices or whatever. And all her friends, they're all like, nah. Even like my nephew, who's like a gamer nerd, like I talked to, and he's quiet. So I'm like, go get into coding. And he looks at me like I'm a crackhead. Like he's like, that's not for
like work for a living. What?
At one point though, like getting into IT was kind of like a novel thing. And now I'm noticing like all the majors at all the, like when the kids graduated high school, like none of them are like maybe one kid's getting an IT, but like what, I guess the message to like that 17-year-old girl, she's not listening to this show, but I'm just for the parents that have like, trying to talk. Cause I know it's a fantastic industry and it's underserved, underutilized with talent. Like what's it
is, and I would say a few things here. The great part about IT is you don't, I wouldn't be cognizant of this because higher education is super important, but you don't necessarily need a 4-year degree to do something. You can go get some certifications, learn the base, and then do some sort of on-site. We
talked about this dinner before. This is like the majority of the IT people I work with have biology majors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, what are you bringing to, like, you were a nurse until when,
sure.
That doesn't help you today. And then your degree from 1989 is certainly not serving you well today. It is irrelevant. So the great thing about IT is it's super relevant, right? It's not going away anytime soon. It's just not going away. It just gets bigger and bigger, right? We're joking about Gen AI earlier.
Yeah.
Everything in IT is relevant today, and it touches everything that everybody does. So anything that if you're working in a hospital, guess what? You're using information technology. You're logging notes onto some platform, right? That's speaking to something else. So unified communications is important. I will say it's easy and not easy to get into, and that's the great thing about it. If you have a network around you, right, it's easy to have those introductions, and then you can shadow people and see if you like it. On the sales side of things, I will say when I got into IT, I did very, very well. I was told early on, my base salary was doubled, right? I'll say newly divorced. I divorced in 2009. This was 2014. So I was single for about 6 years and really kind of struggling, not doing very well. I think I didn't make over $40,000 and I had 4 kids of my own.
Yeah.
Refused child support and alimony. My ex-husband and I were friends. We drove to divorce court together. So I will say this. Let me digress real quick. Child support and alimony. Be kind to your exes. If you have kids, right? That just makes sense. To me, it made no sense to collect child support or alimony. He was a great dad, and I wasn't dragged in like a cave woman to marry him. So I'll leave that at that. I worked really hard, and my kids got to see me work really hard and make myself successful, which whatever success in your mind is, great. That first year I was told, hey, I'm going to give you a base salary of $60,000. I couldn't even fathom that much money then. They said, you probably won't make over 6 figures your first year. It is highly unlikely, but you will do well here if you pay attention. I blasted that out of the water my first year, and it was phenomenal for me. So money-wise, if you're on the sales side of things, when I was working at CDW, I think there were 13 sales reps who were making well over $1 million. I couldn't even fathom that at the time. I didn't even know that was a thing in sales, because salespeople, I automatically thought like used car sales, right? I didn't really think of anything otherwise.
It's not that's the problem. It's this profession gets lumped in with so many others.
Yes, it does.
And there's a lot of people. I want to start. I need to get in the habit of replying to bad LinkedIn reach outs, and just say, I feel like I need to be.
Do you not reply to them all?
No, I never do. I feel like I need to be like the Joey Swoll of IT salespeople. Like, you need to be better. Like,
let me educate you.
Right.
That's one thing I will do, because I use LinkedIn primarily for lead generation, because my connections and requests are so important to me when somebody reaches out. I don't care if you're selling me if you want me to work in franchises, if you're trying to be my new financial planner, I will reply to you and I will take a meeting with you because that's what I expect of people. But I'm in sales, right? It's different. That's how I use it. That's how I want to reply. But I'm very upfront. I don't need a financial planner, but I will meet with you. Educate me on whatever it is that you do. I'll give you half an hour.
Check the box for your boss.
Yes, exactly. I will take this meeting. So I'm just opposite of you on LinkedIn.
So don't get me wrong. 10 years ago, I was totally like, and now I'm like, I need to like teach sales at university. Like that's how like I need like the books and everything. Like, no, like there's no book. There isn't a book. You can't, there's check boxes, like, but there's no book.
Different for everyone. It really
it is. And like, I grew up learning value-based selling, and I thought that was like the top of the ladder. Now that I'm in like management consulting, it's a completely another level. And we got into this like client intimacy model, and it's like literally I'm, 50 years old, and I'm like, oh my God, if I would have learned this when I was 28, if I would have only known.
How powerful.
And it was only just paying attention to detail. It really wasn't any, there's a lot to that detail. Mm-hmm. But like, I started becoming a kind of a second student after like being already 25 years in this. But like, I was reading about, you reminded me of like when I was reading about Carnegie, when he first started his business, his Rolodex was filled with, this is Melinda, her husband's name's Jim. The 4 kids are named so-and-so and they're this age. And here's the year I'm writing it. She likes chicken, not beef. She likes, drinks Aperol Spritz. Like literally had an inventory of like the things that when you were together that you said you did. Oh, I liked parasailing. And so then next phenomenal. Time he talks to you, right? And he would study the business cards.
Yes.
Like I know a couple CTOs that were like CIOs that like study business cards of like people that they interact with. So like, because that was the thing, the nice to meet you. We talked about this at dinner where I need to stop. We need to stop that because like I was being in a networking thing and you run into 400 people at an event and then like, oh, nice to meet you. And you're like, dude, I met you twice.
We were at the last 2 events together.
What a horrible thing to say to somebody though. So like, I'm telling you, everybody as a tip right now, it's nice to see you. I don't care if you've met 100 times. And there's a guy at work that, dealt with a tragic family loss. And there was a kind of like a thing going, don't ask so-and-so how he's doing. Cause he's not, it's not well. And, first thing I saw, like, good to see you, brother. Like, it's been a while, type of thing. Like, again, I'm trying to like help because like someone did that. My daughter did that to me with her college roommate. It's like, oh, this is Emma. Like, you remember her? I'm like, hey, how you doing? And she goes, you remember my dad? She's like, well, no. And I'm like, I know, like, I don't know.
She's
if
like,
I've
never seen this guy
right.
before.
But like, again, that's like these little things, like these little small details. It takes you so much farther than if you're just like green blinking lights. Cause there's I always make fun of this guy, but he walks up to me at one of my networking events and he goes, I got this agentless browser, blocks all the this and the that. And I'm like, I kind of looked at him. I go, what? Like, who are you talking? Like, what do you like? Do you think I'm going to buy? Like, what are you doing? And like, this is a grown adult. And they think like nobody cares about your green blinking lights. I'm going to tell you right now, Melinda, nobody cares about Tanium. Nobody cares about how you protect your endpoints 10 times faster.
That's why I won't sell on LinkedIn. That's why I'm not selling on LinkedIn.
Thank you.
But you're right. I love the Rolodex story because like anybody who's been through a divorce, you're probably an expert now at cyber stalking, right? Yeah. So I will absolutely go and, that's probably what made me so good at sales. I should thank my ex-husband. I will dissect you online. I will find if you have a Facebook, if your wife's Facebook, if your kid goes to Wayne State. I'm sorry, this sounds very much, I'm not going to wear your skin kind of, dissect you, but
close.
I'm going to, pretty close, right? I'm going to try to know everything I can about you before, like when I'm reaching out to you. So before I
didn't they have a show on Netflix? Was it called You? Where the guy like knew he went way. It's not what you do. I'm sure it's not to that level.
It works. Well, and I have a twin sister who is like, she should be in the FBI. I mean, I'm just like, Miranda, I need you to look this up. And she'll be like, boop, 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 boop. Okay, he's got a court record here, blah, blah, blah. His wife lives here. We'll know everything in like an hour. So without scaring people in sales, it's really fun because you get to cyberstalk people before you meet them. So when I meet with you finally, I'm like, Bob, thanks for taking this meeting. How was that Hoosiers game, whatever it is, because you went to Indiana or whatever it is, I'm going to know this about you. And I will say this, LinkedIn, I had one time where I said, thanks for connecting. Let me know if you have a few minutes for an intro. He literally replied and said, I know what you do at I was at CDW. I know what CDW does. I'm well versed. I'm not interested in that, but I am getting a kidney from my brother, and I have questions for you about that. So one powerful thing about LinkedIn is you can put whatever you want on there.
Absolutely.
Your philanthropic efforts, your education, and people will reach out to you. So, he's still a contact today.
As he should.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it can be very powerful.
So that was the one time someone got to me it was at ISR. It's usually ISRs, or the BDRs, whatever you want to call them. And she goes, I just got done watching your TED Talk. And she goes, I couldn't, it was fantastic. Literally this part, and then I got in this wormhole with you and I listened to this podcast and literally I go, you're just someone I need to know. And I'm like, the book's open. What do you want? What do you what do you want?
I'll buy from you. Checkbooks out.
No, you want to, it's buttering me up. Sure. A little bit. But what did somebody put? I really enjoyed your strategies from 22. It's something that's not even as a founder. I'm sure you're dealing with, financial deal strategy. I'm like, founder of what? I should really take that off my LinkedIn.
No, it's perfect. You sound old, like a founding father or something.
Yeah, seriously. But the ones that you could tell the ones that try and you could tell the ones that don't.
Yeah.
Take instead of making 100 calls, make 20 really good ones.
Really great calls.
And I think that'll go. So again, I want to flip the whole sales industry upside down. I think there's so many people that could be so much better.
Of course, in every job.
Well, you know what I mean, but I'm talking going from poor,
Yeah, absolutely.
Most of us are medium, and we're content with being medium.
We celebrate mediocrity daily.
It's completely content with that. So one kidney, you brought that up.
Yeah.
Is it I know you're proud of it.
I am.
But it's kind of it's cool and it's scary and it's ew and it's freaky and it's amazing and it's 25 emotions in one wrapped up thing.
It's why are you missing an organ? Yeah.
Just save someone's life for one. That's kind of
it should be a cooler story.
Right. No matter what happens today, you save someone's life.
It's true. What have you done?
Right. Exactly.
You might be okay at sales, but did you save a life?
I
today?
made my own coffee. That's about the highlight of my day.
Because created two humans. So I know it really should be one of those I woke up in a bathtub of ice, but it's not. It's not. It is a better story. I'd probably have cooler scars. From the time I can remembering, and I'll keep this super short because obviously it's a long story. My mom's from Vietnam, and I think I was about second grade when I remember, but she used to write letters all the time to the embassy, the government, blah, blah, blah. Anybody who would listen to try to get her family here, right? Her sister's husband and their kids, just to try to get them to America from Vietnam. So she came over in 1972. And from that time was just hyper focused on, I have no family here. What is it like coming to Ypsilanti, Michigan? Initially, she went to Moorhead, Kentucky. God forbid. They'd never seen anybody like her before in their life. So she would write these letters. Fast forward, I turned 16. My mom is very tiger mom. If you've ever heard that term, it's a very accurate term where there's no love, there's no emotion. It's just you just are in existence.
Right.
So never heard I love you. Hugs were just not a thing. Anyways. She called me from work and said, I'm not feeling well. Work was her number one. She worked 2 full-time jobs. Jeez. All of our money went to Vietnam, to her sister. Sure. This is, 20 years worth of work. And she said, I'm not feeling well. I need you to come pick me up. It's the day before my junior prom. I'm like, my gosh, woman. So I'm annoyed because we don't get along anyways.
Right.
I drive to Jack Products, pull in the back parking lot. Her body is half in the car and half out of the car. So she's had an aneurysm. I had no idea. There were no cell phones when I was 16.
Sure.
I drive her back home like any idiot kid would do. My dad at that point had gotten off his shift. He worked at the Willow Run plant for General Motors, just a line worker. Came outside, we drove her to the hospital, and then they said, this is what the next 24 hours will be like as your mom passes away. Oh my gosh. This is one of these moments where you can feel free to judge me. I was kind of like, God listened. He's taken her out of our lives. This is great. I get a new chance at a mom. Part of me was like, this is going to be weird now that my mom's dying. She made it through. And it's interesting because I was like, well, God doesn't want her. The devil won't take her. We're in limbo with her forever. I love my mom now. But it was funny because so while she was in a coma, we'd gotten a letter from the government saying, hey, you've been granted sponsorship of your sister, your sister's husband, and all of their kids, 6 kids, which is unheard of, right? This entire family. They can come to America now. You can sponsor them. So when she came out of the coma, it was like a new lease on life. They stayed with us. We picked them up from the airport. in October, so, about a 6-month time, my mom is like walking again. She was paralyzed for a little while. She's like new lease on life. They stayed with us for I think under a year or so, and then ended up leaving, disappearing in the middle of the night. No, thank you, nothing. Just
holy shit.
Somebody came and picked them up who they knew, Wisconsin, gone. So there was this riff in our family for 15, 20 years where we did not talk to them. My dad passed away suddenly at the age of 58. They come in from Virginia to the funeral. Remind you, they live in these mansions. One lives next to an owner of Chick-fil-A, these mansions in Virginia. My mom and dad are very blue collar. We're a very blue collar family. Same house that, I grew up in. All of my cousins come except for one. She didn't make it. She was 30 years old at the time. And we were like, well, where is Anne? And they're like, well, she's too sick. We're like, she's so sick she couldn't be at my dad's funeral. He's the reason you're in America. He's the reason you all live in mansions. So we're not petty. We're just like, okay, we get it. 2 weeks after the funeral, my mom and sister go visit. She's on dialysis. She's been on a transplant list for 2 years. My sister calls and says she's O positive. I hang up my phone. I call the doctor and say, how do I donate my kidney to somebody in Virginia? 6 months later, I flew to Virginia after testing, and I donated my kidney. And she's doing beautifully today.
Wow. So why don't we talk about that first?
My TED Talk.
That is. Why don't you do a TED Talk?
I know. I should.
I know the guys that do the TEDx thing in Detroit. You need to do that.
I'd have to refine my talking skills.
Get your story on YouTube.
Get your story together.
No,
Thank you.
You'd be fantastic. That's an awesome story. I'm going to end on that because that's
sweet, perfect.
That's that's
I lost 3 pounds.
Out.
It was great. It's just a quick diet. It's fun.
Do you got to I got to drink cranberry juice now?
Yeah, I can't really. I rarely drink alcohol. I have maybe a glass of wine at dinner.
Yeah.
I can't do any ibuprofens, no naproxens. I'm literally on the acetaminophen side of the family, which I try to take.
I can't
nothing.
take you to Oktoberfest.
Right. I would die.
Oh my God.
Or just be really fun. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, because you can't process it. So you could drink it.
It's like my filter. I have 1 filter. You have 2. Yeah.
Jeez. Melinda, it's awesome to see you as always.
Yes, thank you.
Let's not wait till the 485 episodes of the podcast to have you back.
19,000 days old.
Exactly. Well, yeah, in 2035 we'll have you back. But we can find you on LinkedIn. You did the bad mistake of saying you'll take a meeting with anyone. So don't reach out to her and ask for a meeting just for the sake of, even though she's awesome and you probably should. So Melinda and O'Neill on LinkedIn. We'll put her LinkedIn in the show notes. And hey, we're going to wrap things up for this episode of the IT and the D Show. On behalf of Randy and Bob, do us all a favor. Drink up your drinks. Get your phone numbers. You don't got to go home. Just got to get the hell out of here. See you next week. Drive careful. Beat it.